Hello, YouTube fam. How y'all doing? It's your Uncle Tim. This is Uncle Tim Rents and Reviews, a channel where I rent and I review. I'm your host, Uncle Tim. Fam, we don't do a conspiracy theory. This might be a members only video. I don't know. And over a period of time, I might release it to the general public, but I'm going to say it this way. You talk about the great flood with Noah. I say we live inside a firmament. There's water below and water above. That's why the sky's blue. Clouds hold water. Before, when we were younger, there weren't as many clouds as there are now. You were able to see stars. Now you're not able to see stars. Back in Noah's time, brother, what if that flood was triggered by the firmament being broken? And that's why it rained for so long. The firmament cracked, and all of that happened. Brother, it's said that there are remains of giants who are petrified. What if I told you the continents that we actually live on are remains of petrified beings? See, people don't think about that. See, the thing is, when you read the Bible tells you about angels. The angels don't look nothing like we envision them to look like. In the Bible, the angels look alien. And that's the thing that we're not paying attention to. See, we too busy not understanding there are so many books of the Bible, but they only did, what, 60 or 66? I think it's like 100 and something. Talking about giants and dragons and every damn thing else in those other books. But they're not talking about these books. They found remains of certain civilizations predating the Indians. You know, they talk about slavery and things like that, how people were moved from the continent of Africa to the United States on slave ships that they don't have one of in their possession to show. People said, well, that'd be inhumane, but you still had the plantations up. Brother, what if I told you that shit wasn't true? There may have been people taken from certain places on ships, but what if I told you we were already here? Do you know that there are sphinx throughout the world? What if I told you Egypt was in the United States? In the Grand Canyon, they found a cave containing sarcophagi of 9-foot beings. Part of the Grand Canyon is corded off because of what that guy found in those caves. They got NASA down there too. Bruh, this shit has been real for a very long time. The Grand Canyon is a quarry. It was mined for minerals. How do you think those pyramids were made? There are more pyramids throughout the world. There are some underneath the oceans. Remember when the space shuttle went up and it blew up and it killed all those people on board? All those people got twins. And all of them are still alive today. What if I told you those people never died, allegedly? What if that was their way of telling us this is why we don't go in space anymore? So you telling me back in 1960 you was able to go into space. You didn't show us inside of the rocket whatsoever. There was already a camera waiting on the moon to watch the moon land. So we had already went to the moon to put a camera there. Then when we got there, you telling us that this, before we even got there, you telling us this ship got us through all those layers that's allegedly there to get into outer space and survived. You telling me that when the rocket goes up, it curves because the curvature of the earth, for it can get out. No, it curves because it doesn't go straight up. It's not going out. It's curving, probably. That's why we got the Bermuda Triangle. All that shit is landing there. Bro, I don't believe any of this stuff have been out in outer space. Satellites are held up with weather balloons. Bro, this is why they always say, maybe you seen a weather balloon. Why? Because that's how the satellites are up there. Bro, you think this shit is actually in space? They talk to you about 3-eye atlas and all of that stuff. And they show what it looked like. Hell, it looked like it's underwater. If that's the case, what if the way out of this plane of existence, well, out of this firmament, is through the ocean? They are said that there are certain civilizations that live underwater. They said that there are certain civilizations of humans that migrated from the top into the middle of the earth. There are large civilizations that live underground. They said some of the first people came from beyond the ice wall. Brother, do you know the tree of life and all of those other things? These big ass petrified volcanoes and, you know, um, tree stumps, man, they used to be trees. And y'all like, no, man, that was a mountain. No, it's water coming out. There couldn't be a tree. Trees got water coming out of them all the time. Trees store water. The thing that I'm telling you about, and I'm not trying to make none of this racial or anything like that. I want you to think about it. Back in 1910, they showed you a picture of what it looked like in New York City. They showed you the skyline in the back. They were in Central Park. There was a boat riding through the water, and somebody was taking a picture in black and white with a video camera. And somebody said, oh no, it had to be the 50s or 60s or the 40s or 50s, because there were no video cameras back then. Like I said again, and I'm going to say it over and over again. Video cameras and all this stuff was created before all of this. They just telling you it was created later, because that's when the general population was able to get them. Cellular phones were created way before 1980. They were created I think it was the 70s. Brother, look, those buildings in New York were already there. You telling me we went from horse and buggy to that within a matter of, 2 decades, 20 years? Stop playing with me. A lot of this stuff is left over from a previous civilization. This is where you get those huge jumps in time from, where you say, that shit don't make no sense. This don't make no sense. Oh, I forgot. I was talking about the moon landing. Let's go there. You didn't see inside the space shuttle back then. They were wearing, look like underwater suits in space. How did they know that there was no air in space? If nobody ever been in space, how did they know there was no air there? See, the things that you are not thinking about. Oh, well, you can deduct by reasoning. You can think. You can look out there. Why you think they show you a lot of stuff through telescopes that shimmer? Why do they shimmer? Dude, what if I told you that shit was underwater? Maybe you are seeing other firmaments. You know what? You may not even be from this firmament. They never told you that Noah's Ark was a actual boat. It was a ship. That ship took you somewhere different. You ever seen Battlestar Galactica? They talk about a race, where, their people had fled to, where they came to, and, it was Earth. But you know what? The thing that you didn't look at when you looked at all of that was it's different. I believe there are more than one firmament. I believe shit is probably millions of them. Dude, it's crazy because they also said that we lived inside of our God, inside of our God. Or, we lived inside of a person. To be honest, it actually looks like we are inside of a person, bro. But the thing is, it's hard to really understand that. Brother, this reality that you live in, whereas you sitting here thinking, Oh man, the Smithsonian found so many giant bones and all of that. Proof of giants. Proof of every damn thing you could think of. But guess what they do? They destroy this shit because it don't fit a narrative, bro. If they told you the actual truth about what the hell really happened here, you wouldn't believe it. Why you think you see all these giant petrified things? They told you, oh, this is a lion. No, it's a sphinx in New Zealand. It's a sphinx over in a lot of different countries, bro. That civilization spanned far. When they show pictures of certain things, of space vehicles, those were actually space. But you never, and I want to say something to you, you never see the spaceships go up. You ever notice that? You never see spaceships just boom, go out and go up. I never seen that. Only time I ever seen that was on Prometheus. I never seen that in real time. You see a lot of those, they just go off into the distance. Then some people see spaceships coming out of the water. Then people talk about Godzilla and say Godzilla cannot be a real, entity. It cannot, yes, it can. You know what? There are certain things that live at depths we do not know. But no, let me stop that. Man has been to the bottom of the ocean. Man has been all the way through this world, but they're lying to you saying they haven't. Do you know they were talking about lighting the sea at one point in time? Putting lights out in the middle of the ocean, for it wouldn't be so dark. And they were like, who's going to fund that? And they were like, solar power. And they were like, it's to keep, shit lit, right? For you could see stuff, right? But you know what? People were against that. People are against a lot of stuff. They're talking about lighting the ocean, the inside of the ocean. They were like, it would disrupt marine habitat. Dude, you done disrupted with all this damn plastic and plastique and every damn thing else. Dude, why not put this shit in incinerators? You done incinerated every damn thing else. Why we can't incinerate this shit? All this waste that we have, this ash, create something from the ash. This guy created an oil out of plastics. Man, I'm surprised he's still there. Like shit. Isn't this the future? Shouldn't this be what we're trying to do? Shouldn't we be trying to build? And that's the thing that I'm talking about here. You look at all this stuff that we are doing. It seems nuts. But it don't fit the narrative, man. The narrative is off. You look at the moon landing. It was a camera on the moon when you got there. Then you telling me that you got this rover, you got this other thing out of that tiny ass space lander, man, that can't fit neither one of them. Then all of a sudden, you telling me you're on the moon, you blast back off with enough of inertia, enough of fuel to get off. But wait, hold on. So the new space shuttles, when they were flying off, they needed a lot of fuel, big, huge booster tanks to get them out into the sky, and they would soar out, right? So you telling me the one before didn't need none of that? They said they had the technology, but they lost it. They didn't keep no files or anything. I'm like, boy, you bullshitting me. So you called the president from the moon, and everybody screaming and hollering, and everybody in the world happy. The United States, won the space race. Man, come on. It was never a fucking race. Dude, we knew. That's why NASA was doing work in the oceans. That's where they started at because, see, they understood one fucking important thing. The way out is through the water, not through the firmament at the top. You can't get through that. Do you know they did work with nukes shooting at the damn dome, trying to get out of it? Don't you know they knew it was there? That's why it's called a glass ceiling. Why do you think rainbows are bent? If you ever look at a rainbow through a piece of glass, it's straight. But when it's up in the sky, it's bent. It's bent because the firmament is there. Dude, you think there's no dome? Ain't nobody been in fucking space. The moon is inside the firmament as well as the sun. The sun should be so far away, for us to be getting the heat. And if you look at it behind certain clouds and stuff, you'd be like, shouldn't the sun be further away? The sun is in the firmament. It moves in a figure eight. The infinite loop, that's where it goes. It goes in that infinity loop. It goes like that, at certain parts. And dude, people don't understand that. Dude, this is created this way for us. Dude, I once said we live inside of a zoo. Dude, I never lied to you. I told you the truth. This shit is something that you have never seen and probably never see. The truth of this world, man, as I go and I see different countries, I see different shit that don't add up, bro. Society has lied to you, bro. They tell you they built all this shit. These buildings got founded. These buildings, these tunnels that they tell you they built for all of these special, tunnels for the trains. You ain't built that shit. It was already there. Because I remember when they took the train underground in Chicago, dude, that shit wasn't there first. I mean, they weren't going there. Those tunnels were there. Dude, you gotta make it make sense for me. See, the things that people don't look at is you gotta look at the damn infrastructure. There are people who have societies that live underground. There are rich people who got cities underground. And people telling you that's false. That ain't false, that's real. The reason why I say it's real without no proof, because think about it. When Hitler was getting to the near end of the war, they were trying to find the way into Middle Earth. Because it's said to be a sun there. Or as they were calling it, the black sun, or I don't know. It's supposed to be a sun there. People say, well, dinosaurs didn't exist. Dinosaurs do exist. They still do exist. Dude, they still out there. There's uncharted islands every fucking where. There's places all over this world that man haven't touched. There are places in the rainforest that man hasn't went. There are places on the continent of Africa there are places in the United States man hasn't touched. Bro, there are so many places in the U.S. But they make you think that we have been everywhere in the U.S. They tell you, oh, it's a gas leak. We had to move everybody from this town. Oh, it was a radiation leak or something, some weird gas. And no. When certain areas start getting infested with other shit, they start moving people. And you notice nobody ever go back to these towns. They check for radiation, they check for all type of shit, and none of that was the case. These places are abandoned and empty. I'm trying to figure that out. Bro, with much land as we have in the U.S., bro, you think each state will be packed. They're telling you, oh man, we have capacity. Do you know how many people are in certain states? It's crazy. Wyoming, Montana, what is that? Montana, Texas, Nevada. It's so many states, man, that don't have a lot of people in them, bro. I would have to do a whole in-depth video on that. The breakdown of the population in certain states. It's crazy. These are things that you should be looking at. The lies, bro. There's so many. History is a lie. His story. It was written by the people who win. Dude, there were submarines way back when. They tell you the Titanic sank by hitting an iceberg. They said that the hole in the side of the hull looked like it was hit with a torpedo. It was subs back then. You do know that, right? There were submarines back then. They make it sound like there weren't shit back anywhere. They tell you that those pictures of the civil rights movement with Martin Luther King, like it was all from the 40s and 30s, they're making it look like it was so long ago. Do you know those pictures were taken in color? But they put them in black and white because it makes it look like it was a long time ago. So it really wouldn't fuck with you. See, the thing is, this is how they do it. This is how propaganda works. It's done a little at a time. See, everybody think propaganda is something that happens, No, it's crazy as hell, ain't it? But till later, peace out.